Welcome to Field Talk, a Monitor Farm Scotland podcast. Join our host, Wallace Curry, as he explores the stories from Monitor Farm networks on how farmers have adapted their businesses with support from specialists and experts to assess farm performance and explore opportunities. Monitor Farm Scotland is farmer-led, farmer-driven, encouraging discussion and solution-based thinking.
Welcome back, everyone, to Field Talk, the Monitor Farm Scotland podcast. The last episode we had was with Andrew Marchant. Andrew was talking about the sort of management group around the Dumfries Monitor Farm, which this series 4 is about. That sort of extra layer that Andrew has as he was, along with his partner Aileen, or his wife Aileen, I should say. In, I believe it was 2017. They were monitor farmers themselves, so it was quite cool to have a chat with Andrew about that side, but also then how this sort of management groups works on top of that. The next episode we have after today is with Kay Wilson. Pretty interesting discussion there, looking at diversification, looking at the way in which they've had to sort of look at changing that farm, and then a chat around that Stirlingshire management group. Today we're heading to Deeside. We're going to look at growth, graft and good farming. We're going to be chatting to one of the management group members, and Keith Stewart. Keith, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks, Ross. Yep, yourself?
Very good, mate. Very good. Keith, just for those listening, could you tell us a wee bit about, I guess, who you are yourself, what your role is at the farm?
I farm with my wife at Huntly. It was about 400 acres. Some of it's woodland, the rest of it's essentially all arable, or could be all arable, should I say. It's all ploughable. The main enterprise is finishing cattle that are bought in the spring and grazed and then grain fed, and then essentially aiming for the Christmas kill, which traditionally used to be a slightly higher price. I take in grazing winter Blackie grazers from the borders. Have done for a couple of years now, but and then I've recently started a tiny little flock of ewes. So it's 50, and a tiny little herd of coos, which is 16. So that's what it was. But actually, it's part of a larger farm. My parents, we split the farm business a couple, 3-4 years ago. Between me and my brother, it was split half and half. So it's essentially I'm a new business and starting off again. So.
And your brother's still farming that other part still, Keith? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. It was pretty much one block, and there's a road between us really, and he's in the other half, so next door. So still bits back and forth. I do some jobs for him, tractor work, and he does bits back and forth for me as well. So no, it works fine. It's getting on okay.
How are you enjoying the addition of livestock from breeding all the way through to market? Is it a different challenge or a more positive challenge?
We used to have cows. It's only probably hadn't had cows here for I suppose we go back 3, 4, 5, 6 years maybe we hadn't had any cows for. But before that, we've always had cows. There was some pedigree limousines, and we used to calve heifers and sell them with calf at foot in Thainstone. So kind of used to it, to be honest. But no, it's back end slightly different. I'm kind of going down the fashionable Angus route just now, I think, rather than the limousine this time. But no, it's quite nice. The Stewart cattle they're strong money, regardless whether you're buying grass cattle or cattle ready for barley. So if I can produce a few of my own, it's always a few less to have to buy, to be honest. So.
Absolutely. And on the Monitor Farm podcast here, Keith, how did you first get involved with that, and what is your involvement with the programme?
Well, I knew Duncan anyway. He'd said that he was away to become a monitor farmer, and I said, "Oh, I'll come along for interest or support as well, I suppose." And of course, missed the first meeting. Where I was, so I didn't really hear that there was a management group or anything, and I phoned him up a couple of days later, see how things were, see what the story was, see how it had gone. He said there was a management group and it was a bit more in depth and had to do with some of the decisions that he would make or steer them or however you want to put it. So I thought I'll join in there, and from there just kind of I've tried to go to most meetings. It's not always possible, of course, but try to go along and see what's there and stand at the back and politely listen in.
I'm sure you're more than listening in. I'm sure you're getting involved as well.
You try. You do try. That's how it works. You have to get involved. It just takes someone to ask a question, and it almost just opens up the floor for everyone to ask. And it doesn't matter if you're going to ask a silly question or a detailed, in-depth one. You never know what the other people there want to hear or want to ask about. So. No, they're pretty good, to be fair, especially a management group. It's not even I wouldn't even call it really a meeting now. It's a turn up, get together, and just discuss, just speak, kind of follow the setup of this, kind of the minutes of the meeting, but just off you go, kind of thing.
You were a chair, weren't you?
I was a chair, yeah. I not the first year. I was chair for 2 years. I was it was at one of the meetings, and we need a new chairperson, and three or four of the lads I know, with a smile on their face, all put my name forward. So I wasn't a lot of option, but no, that doesn't worry me. Like, it was fine. It was quite good. You get a little bit more as well. You're kind of dealing with the actual organising of maybe the topics or what the meetings will be about. So
yeah, excellent. Good. And that wasn't one of the meetings you missed. We've all been in that.
No, unfortunately, I don't know if I'd missed the meeting, I might have still had my name put forward. But no, I had to turn up for that meeting because we got our supper that night. So strangely enough, I did manage to go along. So. But no, it doesn't. Everybody take a shot. If you don't, it's quickly. I wouldn't say it's like trying to get outside the box in any shape or form, but somebody has to do it. So everybody should get a shot, and everybody does something different or does it differently. So
I'm sure you're aware. I know transition someone else. Sure, you're the right person for the job. Yeah. But one of the things we do with this, Keith, because the whole scope of the Monitor Farm programme is around Scotland. It's in 9 different places. We sort of like to ask the challenges, or I guess maybe unique aspects that spring to mind when you think about farming in your place. So last time we're in Dumfries, next time we'll be in Stirlingshire-ish or Loch Lomond, really. What about yourself? What's the things we maybe don't consider about farming in Huntly?
In Huntly, I would say, challenges. We're very good at catching the snow. If there's going to be snow, Huntly catches it. We're just into the hills. You've only to go, I think, as the crow flies, would it be 12 miles from the coast, east coast? But the hills start here. So you can only be 2 or 3 miles down the road, and it's sleet, and we've got snow. So that's a bit of a problem. Land, it's good land around here, and it's not prime Fife, how the Mearns kind of stuff, but it's expensive. Expansion's not easy that way. I suppose there is challenges, but on the whole, we've got livestock markets around here. There's cattle around here. There's grain. There's straw. There's probably a lack of grass if you want to take on grazings, I suppose. But it's probably not too bad an area, to be honest. I'm right on the A96, so you're 30 minutes in Aberdeen, and then from there down it's dual carriageway. So we're maybe not central in this by any stretch, but it's definitely we're not secluded, should I say. Yeah. So, but no, can't really complain. Like it flatter, like less stones in the soil, like more sun, less rain. But yeah, no, it's not too bad either, to be fair.
All the things we all want, really. I mean, it would be a strange world if we didn't want for something else, for sure.
We'd never be happy.
On the snow side of things, we touched on it earlier there, Keith. I mean, I'm from the Isle of Arran, which is in that sort of Gulf Stream coming over from, depending on your political affinity, the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of America. But with that, we've sort of almost got a floor on the temperature we have. So snow is rare. The beast from east didn't touch us, albeit it touched some of Ayrshire and whatnot. But in 2013, we had a snow that 0.5 meters would be quite common, but also higher in some places, and it just decimated the island. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to deal with it. If you're getting that often, is your sort of farm and is Huntly in general set up for that a bit better?
I wouldn't say. I mean, that's the first time I've seen half a metre. I think. Is it? Yeah, probably back in the. Oh God, I don't know. From the 80s, when everybody said look back towards what it used to be like. But I'd be more used to probably like a foot of snow would be still a lot of snow, but I would say for the last few years we've probably been, to be honest, if you're getting 2-3 inch, it's been a fair dump of snow. I think it was only 2 or 3, 4, 5 years ago. I never had to go up or down the road with a bucket to scrape it out. It might have been sleet, but it's definitely variable. But it does set up around here. There's snowplows everywhere. A lot of local farmers have a council snowplow and do gritting, and it's quite a big business actually. Especially gritting for like Aberdeen oil companies, supermarket, car parks. There's quite a few people doing that really, but it's fairly well set up. But there's only so much you can do when that amount of snow comes down, to be honest. But no, we're kind of used to it, to be honest. It's just that was just more than we were looking for, to be honest. So, yeah.
How far is Aberdeen from yourself? How far is that?
30 minutes, 30 miles, or 30 miles to the AWPR to the bypass. So yeah, we're not far. It's straight in the A96. So.
And tell us about Keith, about the home life you've got. I think you've got a young family yourself as well, farming. What does a week, what does a day look like? How do you manage it all?
There's me and my wife Ellie. She works part time she's a pharmacist, and then I have 2 young children. They are 3 or away to turn 3, should I say, and 4. So they're at nursery or getting looked after by grandparents 3 days a week. So for that sort of things, my parents still live. I stay in one of the cottages on the farm, and my parents are in the farmhouse, but we're in the process of doing up another cottage for my parents to move into, which will allow me into the farmhouse and gives a little bit more space. But day to day, it's livestock. It's bedding, feeding. I'm kind of finished putting away fat cattle just now, so things just slow down a little bit. For that, I have to start buying again, but that looks like quite a scary prospect. I do a little bit of, but I would never say I was a contractor in the slightest, but I do a little bit of bruising out and about, and a little bit of spraying in the summer. So these jobs are all just fill in a half day here or a day there or something like that. So, but no, it's fairly. Yeah, there's always something to do, I suppose, on all farms. So it's quite straightforward.
Well, I focus on that management group. You've got about less than now, really, about 10 months left at the time of us recording this, and probably about 9 by the time people hear this. What's it sort of done? You know, there's a lot of people listening to this that are maybe considering joining one, Keith, or maybe looking at even being involved in the program next year when the new batch continues. What's it sort of done for yourself, both from a professional sense? Is there stuff you're taking back to the home farm, and then also there's that social side, isn't it? It's a chance to get out and see folk and have a bit of crack as well. What's it done?
Well, I'll do the social one first. Quite a few of the people anyway in the group, so it's always chatty, and because they're friends, it's just a chat kind of. So nobody's scared. You can take the mick. You can take the mick about some things, or not be shy to speak about something else. We've had a couple of trips away for, was it 2 nights? Both of them 2 nights down to the southwest and the southeast as well. So that's good. Out. I mean, you can stay away, get a meal out, go around a couple of farms and see something. See the same but new as well, it's kind of thing. But no, so that side of things is good. You're just getting out and chatting, and you'll always see something on these trips, kind of wherever you are. Professionally, I suppose I could call it that I've been a wee bit lazy about it. I prefer to. It's good. I like to go and see it working before I would jump straight in. So go and see somebody strip grazing something using that type of forage crop, see how it's performed, see their thoughts on the matter, essentially use their knowledge to do it. And that's what I've seen out, like that, for instance, Duncan at Wintering. I wouldn't say I don't fancy the bale grazing thing at all, but seeing it, I just thought, I don't know if I just particularly fancy that. But then I've got that whole 16 cows are outside with some forage crop, and I was topping them up with a bale of silage kind of every 3 days. And then very quickly, I was like, I didn't like going out into the stubble. That's the only bit where there's a mess. So for next year, I'll try and set something up to do some bale grazing. Just having seen it there, seen how it works, seen fences being put over the top of it, and rolling ring feeders, etc. Just the little bits that go along and make it work. So there's a few things to take back from it, or a wee tweak from what you're seeing as well. So it's definitely worthwhile. It's just getting to see it somewhere else and seeing it in practice. Totally different from watching it on a YouTube video or being told about it, reading it in the press. I mean, you can scan over it in the press, but when you're actually standing there watching the cows eating kale at some days and whatever, it just hits home a wee bit more. So
I think it's important to mention that not everyone is that early adopter. You've got to have that person that's looking at it first, trialing it first, whatever. Not everyone wants to do that, has no intention of doing that. And being the person in your position is just as important, Keith. And I think is you've sort of had that chance to look, see what's happening, take a stand back, see what other folk are doing. Is there anything you have tried to implement at home?
Yeah, I've had an interest in. I suppose if you look back, it was some of that. It would be the pasture cord. Some of the first ones. Speaking about the amount of grass growth through paddock grazing type idea, and I don't see myself going down to daily shifts 3-4 meters at a time, but certainly splitting a field in half or into thirds or quarters or something. I'd kind of been thinking about it, but all the cattle I buy in are not. Well, are unlikely to be fence trained, so it's kind of put me off. But just seeing others doing similar, I thought we'll try that. So I did that this last year. I split up all my fields, all my grass fields, to be honest. And although it was a drought last year, I actually didn't run out of any. I didn't run out of grass. I've also got some sand, gravelly banks in some of the fields, which would burn off in most years, as long as it was kind of warmer and drier. And apart from a tiny little bit, they kept growing grass. And I think I was just down to moving it. So having a move, having a shift, as you would say. So that was one of the things. And back into cows, but having cows. It gets spoken about all the time, the availability of staff or time. I mean, nobody wants to be actually doing the calving or whatever. So years ago, we did outwinter cows with a Charlie bull that was turned out to be a particularly bad calver. And he was when he came home, he was putting with 2 or 3 cows just to keep him settled. And then he went in with 30, and by the time the 2 or 3 calves were like, oh, this is going to be bad. So they were outside. They were outside on kale for right up until the first cow that calved, she calved outside, and then we took them in. We have got sheds here, and it was a very normal calving, which would have never happened had they just been inside, again, not getting to move around. So I knew that it's it was only 16 that I was going to keep outside just now. I'd put in some red start, kind of 30-acre stubble field and 4 or 5 acre of red start in the corner, and was getting on great doing that. But I also, to be honest, wanted to keep them outside, to keep them away from the feeding cattle. Any health issues, digital dermatitis or whatever, like the sheds emptied before the cows to be come back in or come in. So no, it was just seeing those things, just seeing tricks to it, and it's just getting an idea for it, and just little tweaks and things like that. So no, it's quite good. I mean, Duncan does. I mean, he's very into his electric fencing. Or should I say, paddock grazing, and it's just fine to see it working and seeing how it's set up and getting ideas from there. So no, it's that's a couple of things I've implemented for that as well. So and they'll be here to stay. The 50 centimeters of snow kind of damages the winter, obviously, but you have to have a plan B regardless. And I've got sheds, so it was a lot easier just to take the cows in before the snow got too bad, and that was it. So
yeah, absolutely, and it's a luxury of sheds, isn't it? I mean, not everyone's going to have that, but
yeah,
might as well utilise what you have. Yeah.
Well, exactly. We've got them here. I was going to say, just like kind of going forward as well. If we were going to be getting, if it came regular, going to get snow like that, I would get a hybrid of it instead of having a 6-month winter. If I can have a 4-month winter, that puts me 2 months in front. So, I've got that fallback of it. So that was my thoughts on it anyway, just to try and cheapen it a bit, to be honest, and keep them healthier, definitely healthier, like so, and fitter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than grass on the ground.
Oh, aye. It's so far easier.
On the sort of focus of the group itself, without what sort of support is the group offering that monitor farmer? How often is there discussions coming from the group that's sort of focused on at that farm itself?
There's always that WhatsApp group, and there's quite often Duncan posts in there, questions back and forth, and others are posting in there how's your cows getting on outside, how things like that. So there's always a chat there, and then at the meetings as well. I would say it's good in there just to see them. I mean, I don't know if Duncan's doubting anything he does or not, but you're standing there looking at, your cows are in perfect nick, if you want to say it like that. It's probably just a bit of reassurance, probably sometimes as well. Just to ask something out loud and see. There's always mistakes made. There's always things you can rectify. It's one of the things. It happens. It's where you'll learn from it. So no, it's great. I would say there's a bit of support. There's a lot of you actually, to go to Duncan's, you're passing one of the other management group members, and you see he's out wintering as well, and you just see it in the passing. So it's just a comment, such and such is working over there, and it's just a discussion each time on it.
Yeah, for sure. And with that, it's a lot of people listening to this, I think, said, and sort of debating, getting involved. When you focus on that group itself, Keith, I don't know how involved you've sort of been in that peer-to-peer learning before being involved in this group. What's that like? I ask people this quite often, is it a scary process to get into it first, sort of being open about everything? I know you said these people, and that crack is there as well.
Yeah.
And then working towards those benchmarks as opposed to just pushing forward into the ether, as it were. How do you work with that?
It doesn't. I didn't really find a challenge there with not having cows, and essentially it's a cow monitor farm. I can just listen and take it on. I think if I had cows and I was thinking, God, I've had bad calvings, or something not working. The first thing is somebody can just stand at the back and hear it being spoken about. They don't have to join in. They can just purely use their ears. And it's pretty welcoming. There'll always be there's been no, I think it's Peter who facilitates. He always says there's no silly questions. So I've noticed a few people coming in and extra or staying later at maybe some of the bigger meetings and asking questions, not of me, but I see them at the side. Can people come up to Duncan and asking something specific? I would say it's really easy again. It's so informal, I think, probably. And it's probably one of the reasons it works. You're not getting dressed up to go. You're just turning up in your wellies and oilskins. If it's an outside meeting, it's just it's very informal, very easy for someone to come along and just drop in, see what it is, listen to the speaker, can listen to the topic, and then off they go. And to take something from it, which I'm sure they will. Again, they don't have to tell anyone they've taken from it. They don't have to tell anyone you can home and changing the bull or the cow, or it doesn't happen overnight. So it's just food for thought a lot of the time, to be honest, or just reassure what something that they've got in their own mind, can just to hear it again from somebody else. So no, I think pretty easy. Like I said, there's quite a variation within the management group as well, professions, and that's another thing. I think it's so helpful, because you can. There's an accountant and there's nutritionists, and it's not really any wrong advice. At least it's not just off the top of your head. A comment you can make a comment, but it can be backed up, because really accountants very relevant, or a nutritionist obviously very relevant. So there's a lot of there's detail there for people with the knowledge as well, if they do want to ask something. So, and to discuss something, there's a nutritionist just standing there, and it can just be an off the cuff remark, and it doesn't mean anything. You're not tied in at all. So no, easy to go. I would recommend it, to be honest, just to go, and it gets you away for the day as well, and get some of the fancy pieces that are laid on at the side.
I'm noticing a theme here, Keith. You tend to be there when there's a good spread on.
Well, it definitely helps. It definitely helps.
I think the thing about, just turning up, there's no set, you've got to be this, you've got to be that. As I stand here, or I sit here in a hoodie and shorts. I quite like the idea of turning up, not having to wear any fancy uniform, to be fair. So always on board with that. Does it, when you've went, Keith, from working at home, a bit with your brother, a bit with your wife, does doing this make you think about it differently, or does the management group, I guess, allow for people that think in different ways to still think the way they do, but sort of work together quite well on that, I guess?
I think you're just seeing so many things can be discussed, whether it's to do with feeding or breeding, or I suppose marketing or something. There's just so many things going past, and there's just always, I don't know, just so many you can hear and you go, that's just not relevant to me. That's just it's not that I don't need that. It's just not relevant. It's not what the business is. And the next thing, it gives you something to think about. I could do that. Come home and say, I saw this, and you might get quizzed on it, and how does that fit in? And then you decide then it really does fit in, or it doesn't. It does fit in. We were always, I think we was getting on fine before the business swap, but it's just, things have changed, to be honest. Again, the way, there's less staff to get, so you want to do something, you're going to have to probably do it a bit more extensively to make up for not being able to take someone on. But yeah, it's just that you just always got to take home and can mull it over in a way. It takes me an hour to get there to Duncan's, so mull something over, and you just remember something you didn't quite pick up on it when you're standing there. So no, it's fine to come home and just air it again, and it kind of maybe gets forgotten about, or else it's kind of goes to the front of your mind and go, no, I had to try and implement that. So
I think I'm right in saying the Deeside management group's quite young. Is that right? There's quite a lot of young couples, young people in it. Is that right?
Yeah, that would definitely be. I wouldn't like to guess the age group, but I would say, yeah, we're definitely ranging from, I think there's probably, we'll say from 30 up to, I don't even know if we'll be any up to in the 60s. No, it wouldn't be. No, it wouldn't. It would be, I would say, an average age group of, probably an average of in the 30s, to be honest, maybe 40. So makes me very average then. So.
If that's something that can define averageness, yeah, we'll go with it. But,
no, it is quite, and that's. Obviously, there's some of the younger people there are working in partnership with their parents. So whether it's just coming along to find somebody to take it home, or whether this is maybe their transition to becoming the farmer, so to speak, I think it's. There's still. The old generations have got plenty of experience. There's a reason why they didn't do things at that time. In their time, things have always changed. Prices have gone up and down, availability of feed. So there's just things are always changing. So just because it's not relevant so much, it doesn't maybe not working so well now. 30 years ago, it was commonplace because of the circumstances at the time, I would have said. So no, a young group, it's quite good. There's just always probably a lot more, being younger, I suppose, a lot more open to just trying it, having a go. So I think.
Yeah, there's benefits to both, isn't there? It's always good to have the experience there that, as you say, have lived it. They've probably tried the things where like, why have we never done this before? They can give that feedback, but also that I don't want to say gung-ho-ness, but it maybe has a wee bit of that. To just go for it is also really useful. Having that sort of the mix of the two is good, for sure. If looking forward, Keith, the whole point of this program is to look at a system with also sort of support of others, i.e., those in the group, and try and think how can we progress this, in particular the Monitor Farm, but also those around it forward. So what do you think's next, I guess, for both yourself and and your farm, and then also what do you think's next for the Morrison's farm?
Well, I was actually speaking with Duncan earlier. It's not going off on a tangent, but the high such a high price of cattle or beef just now is probably hiding some things. It would be there's a bit of an argument that you could maybe still keep pushing for larger and larger cattle because slaughterhouse certainly still weight pays. I mean, barley's so cheap it pays you to put that weight on. So it's probably hiding some problems if there was back to being low prices in the doldrums. That's probably going to push people far more into the extensive way of doing it. Definitely having to have an easy calving bull or sheep that are doing it for themselves. But it's difficult to argue sometimes that just now that some people are quite happy to give a Charlie calf a bit of a help if it needs it. Not all need it, obviously, but if they need it, because that calf is just worth so much money 16 months down the line. Where it will go at home, I'm probably going to try and put a few more cows on. To what extent, I have no idea. I'm just going to let it happen. The store cattle can work really well, but it's also quite it's a lot of money tied up. Probably have a few more sheep as well, with a view to down the line not having grazing sheep in. Probably do closed herd, closed flock to some degree. Again, health, trying to reduce costs, but maybe not reduce output. Do grow barley because they need it for the feeding cattle, and got muck to use. I shouldn't say get rid of muck, but there's quite a lot of muck to get spread on. So that would be pretty difficult if it was all grass. You'd have a lot of straw to buy in to house these cattle before they go off to slaughter. So no, I know the phrase is "let it happen organically," but I think cow numbers will go up a bit, certainly up to enough to justify 1 or 2 bulls and work away there. Same with sheep as well. Kind of find a area kind of quite definitely with like sheep and cattle, because don't want to risk going sheep sick. Obviously cattle, don't want to have them on the grass all winter as well, because just give issues there. So probably just keep going the way it's going and see how things progress, to be honest, that way. It would definitely can re-run and finishing as well. I'm not so worried about the store sales. But for Duncan, I think he's always like a step ahead of at the meetings of when we go in anyway. I see Duncan keep trying to expand. He's been lucky and he's taken on a bit more land beside him or right next to him, which will allow him to expand up a bit. So, and the system he's running, he needs a help at calving time and stuff, but it's fairly a simple system as well. And he's not calving twice; he's calving once in the year. It's I think expansion and probably going just heading down the route he's on. I know he would like to probably start feeding out his own cattle as well. So that'll obviously help him down the line a bit with cash flow as well. Once you get into it, I suppose it's the fact it's getting past the store sale in the beginning of the year when you're expecting a check-in for, I don't know, selling at a time, 40, 50 calves at a time or something like that. But no, I think for both it'd be an expansion, to be honest, is really what it is, to try and dilute costs a bit as well, try and scale up a bit and look after the fixed costs and stuff.
We had a good point about costs of stores. I mean, it's nice to look at that and think, we're selling at a good price, but you're buying into that market as well. That's a challenge, I assume.
Yes, it's a lot of money, regardless. The last couple of years on their buying bill, these cattle you can't argue they worked away. They worked away quite well. But if you take your fat check and take it into the market the next day to buy cattle, they're just going resin value so much. I wouldn't say it's not looking clever, but it's a big reality check. It's a big reality check. It's just so much money tied up, and it's getting to such a level that, I mean, if you're borrowing against your farmer, the bank would certainly be looking at the ratio there. But it's just a huge turnover of money, really. To be honest, to be essentially making the same amount, you're just spending so much to do it. I think I haven't been in the market yet, but I would assume it's going to be up 200 quid a grazing head on a grazing cattle this spring anyway, on last year, I would say, which it was probably up 350 quid last year. So your profits very quickly swallowed into the next stocking. So but yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what that's like, if we were sat here in 2036, what that does look like. It's both scary and potentially exciting.
Maybe be looking back going, God, what were we worried about? But
exactly.
But no, it's a big tie up. You've committed. You have to do it. It's now. I suppose at the time, again, if you go back 20, 30, 40 years, it always looks, probably got rose tinted glasses on. You always think it looked a bit easier of some description, but I mean, stuff's running so fast now that you have to be doing it right, regardless of whether it's the ration you're making for feeding cattle, the breeding you're doing. Again, I mean, vets bills are big. You really don't want to be getting the vet in for other than anything kind of routine. There's just so much money tied up in it, to be honest. It's difficult.
Absolutely. Here, Keith, it's been a pleasure to chat to you. Thank you for your time. It's been great fun.
Yeah, that was grand. That's fine. It's good. It's such a wet day here anyway. It's an excuse to sit in the house. That's what it is. So.
Oh, I'm glad that I was able to take some happiness out of the rain from you. But for those you listening, that's been Keith Stewart, who's involved in the Deeside management group there, as is sort of the scope of all of this series. The last episode we had was with Andrew Marchant, speaking the same side of things, but with a focus on Dumfries. And the next one will be Kay Wilson, looking, they're based in Loch Lomond, so they'll be sort of with a focus on the Stirlingshire group there. So yeah, as ever, thank you very much for listening, and we shall see you for the next episode of Monitor Farm Podcast. See you then.
Thanks for tuning in to the Monitor Farm Scotland podcast. Don't forget to click subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from for more episodes as we continue to dive into the stories from our Monitor farms. If you want to stay updated with our latest news and events, please visit the Monitor Farm Scotland website and follow us on social media for more updates and keep in the know about what our farms are getting up to. Monitor Farm Scotland is funded by Scottish Government and managed by Quality Meat Scotland and AHDB.